Guest joining us all the way from Rajasthan and taking the time out in the middle of a very hectic election campaign with us is former Deputy Chief Minister of Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot. Sachin, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to us. We're less than 2 weeks away from the Rajasthan polls. Each time when there's a discussion with any politician about the Rajasthan state elections, it's about whether or not the ruling party will be able to buck the anti-incumbency trend. What makes you believe that the Congress is in a position to buck that trend this time round?
I think the Congress party is fighting a very rigorous and a very united campaign. If you look at how we are placed in other states, I think we're doing exceedingly well, whether it's Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh. And in Rajasthan, this time, the people themselves have decided that they must break this revolving door policy of 5 years BJP and 5 years government rule, Congress rule. So I think this election is different. The BJP is actually quite disunited in the leadership in the state. Our work, our implementation of our manifesto, and the united way in which we are conducting our campaign are very clearly being liked by the people. And I can tell you that we've got strong tailwinds from the victories in Himachal Pradesh and Karnataka. They're helping the Congress cadre work even more, in a motivated fashion to make sure that we break this tradition. And I'm very confident that we'll get a mandate this time again in Rajasthan.
Right. Also, the Congress has waged a strong campaign, but the question that's foremost on many people's minds is that can, in fact, it get over the period of acrimony between you and Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot? How united in that sense is the party during these elections, and will those memories of disunity be a factor in the minds of voters?
It is nothing personal either with me or anybody else. There were some issues which I thought were people's issues which we ought to have raised, and I think the Congress leadership in Delhi took cognizance of those issues and directed the government to work accordingly. So today we moved beyond that, and I always go by the advice that Mr. Kharge and Rahul Gandhi ji gave to me, which is to forgive, forget and move on. The country is looking at the Congress as a viable alternative to the BJP. For the Congress to do well, we have to perform well in the states, and it is our responsibility to deliver the states for the Congress. If we do well in the states, then the next year's Lok Sabha elections, we'll have a formidable alliance of India Alliance, and we'll do well. Therefore, I think the collective objective of everybody in Rajasthan Congress is to get a mandate to secure people's blessings and win the election. That is the singular objective with which we're working. Baki, who said what, did not say, did say, that's all a matter of the past, and we have all got to move on beyond that. For me personally, I think today the responsibility is ours to work for the party, to make sure that we are able to win the election again. Don't forget, in 2018, when we were going to polls, we were hardly 21 MLAs. It took a lot of blood and sweat for us to create that atmosphere to win elections. So today we're much better placed, and I'm sure we'll do well.
Right, so you've forgotten the words that Mr. Gehlot used for you, because at the time that you waged a rebellion, there were words such as Nikamma, etc. that were used, and also you had held so many press conferences, you had played out video clips of Mr. Gehlot's commitments to take action against alleged corruption, and even during the BJP tenure, and you had even asked if there's a collusion between Vasundhara Raje and Ashok Gehlot. So all that is a matter of past now.
So no matter how much you try and instigate me to say things that you want me to say, I will not say that, because we are focused on the campaign today. And like I said, I raised issues of people's concern. I wanted, and which the Congress party agrees, young people's future, we can't compromise on that no matter what the situation is. We have a zero tolerance for corruption. And the AICC directive actually had effect. If you recall, the Congress government in Rajasthan enacted a new legislation in which people involved in paper leaks, those people caught, will be given punishment up to life imprisonment. This is the harshest punishment any state has ever got in the entire country. So the party also acted, and the government also passed legislation on the issues that I had raised. But the BJP, I think, is issueless. So they're fighting this election purely because of the hope that the anti-incumbency will kick in, and the tradition has been to have a switch of governments every 5 years. But that won't work this time.
Right. Okay, let me come to the campaign now. Less than 2 weeks to go, but we're yet to see Mr. Rahul Gandhi campaign in Rajasthan. Mallikarjun Kharge, for instance, has held 2 rallies. Priyanka Gandhi has held 2 rallies. And Rahul Gandhi was previously in Rajasthan on the 23rd of September for the Karyakarta Sammelan. Meanwhile, Telangana, which goes to polls on the 30th of November after Rajasthan, Mr. Rahul Gandhi has already held programs there. What explains his absence thus far?
Not at all. I think Mr. Gandhi has been here campaigning. Like you said, Kharge Saab has been campaigning. Priyanka ji has been here 3 or 4 times. And don't forget, Telangana, we've been, the party was, in a really, at a loss last time. And we really have to work hard to, come to power there. In Rajasthan, we are in government, so there are state leaders, there are all of us campaigning. So it's wrong to say that one state is being favored as opposed to the other. A strong campaign in Telangana. We've got a real good campaign. I think there we'll form the government despite all the predictions that some people in the media make. And Rajasthan, of course, we've had Kharge Saab and Priyanka ji and other leaders. So I think, and Rahul Ji is coming after Diwali to campaign in Rajasthan also. So we're focused equally on all the states. And I think the 4 states that go to polls, all the 4 states will see a Congress government.
If you will just allow me to quote what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has said, because the reason I'm asking you it is not about prioritizing, but there is an analysis that perhaps it's about being confident about the victory in the state. This is exactly what Mr. Rahul Gandhi had said in September. He says that right now we are probably winning in Telangana, we are certainly winning Madhya Pradesh, we are certainly winning Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, we are very close, and we think we will be able to win. Do you see a difference in the way he is analyzing the situation in all these states?
I think you're picking on words. What he said was, I think, did not want to sound overconfident about how we'll do well in Rajasthan. Ultimately, it's the campaign by the top leaders in Delhi and the state leaders work together. So Rajasthan, like I said, the history tells you for the last 30 years, no government has been able to repeat itself. So the history, of course, will say that, we won't do well. But I'm telling you that the ground sentiment, the workers, the enthusiasm, the feedback I've got across my travels in the state is that we will form the government. And Mr. Gandhi said that, it's a close fight because the historical data will suggest that for 30 years, no government has come back. We have to break that tradition. So it requires more rigor and hard work, which we all are putting in. So I think all 4 states, we're very well placed.
Right. Also, is the party this time round fighting this election with Mr. Gehlot as the outright choice as Chief Minister if the Congress wins? And I'm asking you this because Mr. Gehlot has said in October and even before that, that while he wants to leave the Chief Minister's post, the post for some reason does not wish to leave him. There are also those who believe that there should be a generational change. How do you view this?
This is a long-standing tradition and practice in the Congress party. We fight the elections unitedly. Once we secure a mandate, then the MLAs sit with the leadership in Delhi and we decide who gets assigned what role. It's very simple and it's not unique to Rajasthan. It happens in every state. It happens in all elections. There's nothing new. We don't go out declaring who will be CM or who will not be CM. It's a united effort. And in 2018, when I was party president, same thing happened. We won the elections. We all sat down and we authorized the Congress president to choose who will lead the government. At that time, the Congress president decided, Rahul Ji was president, that Ashok Gehlot Ji should become chief minister. I think the exactly same thing will happen this time. Let us first win the elections and then the MLAs and the leadership in Delhi. And this is not something that I am saying. It's the practice of the party. This is what the AICC stand is. And like you said, anyone claiming or wanting the CM's post, I think the CM's post is required for the party. Don't forget, it's the party that makes the government. Governments don't make parties. So the party has to be strong and united. And we want the position of the Chief Minister to be able to implement our policies and programs, to be able to serve the people. And it's not about fulfilling personal ambitions. It's about securing the mandate to be able to have our party in government. So that's what we're working for. Individual ambitions and statements, I think, don't count for very much. It's ultimately the party decision that will happen post-counting day when we get the mandate. Right now, we have to focus on getting that majority that we need.
Right. Also, how do you respond to those who say that you have taken a backseat as far as the campaign is concerned? There are also, of course, talks about whether your supporters have been adequately represented in the party's tickets. How do you respond to that?
I don't have any personal supporters. Everyone who supports me supports the Congress party. There are no groups and factions. Anyone who's been given the mandate is the Congress candidate. He is the person or she's the person that we have to work and make sure that we win. To say someone's taken a front seat or back seat is a matter of perception. I've been working and campaigning for the Congress party for the last 2 decades, and this time is no different. I'm working as hard as I can, not just in my own state, but also in other states, wherever I've been asked, assigned, or tasked. Those areas I'm covering and campaigning. Whatever the media narrative is, that's a different thing. But I think as a political worker, if you're able to endear yourself in the hearts and minds of people and leave an indelible impression, that's far more tangible an asset than positions of power or not having positions. That's not important. What's important is the party structure should be unified, it should be electrified, and a campaign should actually give results. So I don't think it's important about who's in front, who's in back seat. Idea that we must collectively fight and win elections.
Right. Are you also satisfied with the ticket distribution, since we are on the subject? Because Congress has repeated 89 out of its 108 sitting MLAs, despite there being talk of anti-incumbency. Do you believe there should have been more changes, more fresh faces perhaps?
So I think my own personal view is that there are multiple layers of doing this. We get feedback from the survey reports, from workers, from leaders, opinions, inputs, and finally, whatever the party decides, that is the official candidate of the party. Of course, not everybody can be satisfied because there are many claimants to one ticket. My own personal view is that I've always wanted more younger people to get opportunities of leadership roles, of fighting elections, and a lot of young people have been given tickets this time. But ultimately, whoever the party decides, I think it's a fair assessment, it's a fair distribution. Winnability should be the criteria, and who can secure a victory, that person has been brought forward. You said a lot of people have been given a second chance, but that's after due consideration. There are always pros and cons of repeating or not repeating. Some people fight as rebels and then they damage the party. So that consideration has to be taken into account when you make the final decision. Ultimately, whatever the party finally decides, after seeking everyone's opinion, that's what we have to go with.
Right. In October this year, the Congress government in Rajasthan has taken the decision to order a caste survey. Do you believe that this is, as BJP alleges, a divisive ploy and a recipe for more reservations? Because there are many who believe that we could potentially be heading towards a Mandal 2.0 with such a demand.
No, that's absolutely wrong. I have not seen any BJP leaders saying that they're against a census. Why do we need a census? It's not about being casteist or dividing society. It's actually being quite scientific. If you don't know the number of people, the quantum of budgetary allocations, the geographical location, the economic situation of each and every community, how do we direct our policy making? How do we make sure that it's effective, it's delivered on the ground, and we have a rough idea of as to what we are doing? Right now, it's pretty ad hoc. For the last 80, 90 years, we take one community's name and say we must give this much reservation, this much budgetary allocation. So it's about finding out the facts, finding out the numbers, so that we can adequately address those underprivileged who have so far been untouched by government efforts or by budgetary allocations or by subsidy programs or by reservation issues. Ideas to have a society that is getting uplifted together. So some section of it can't be left behind. So the caste census is not so much political, it's actually a social need of the day, and the Congress party has very clearly passed a resolution in the working committee that we must have a census to know, to factually understand, and then to adequately address issues of economic disparity and social deprivation that are so needed. So I haven't seen any BJP person rejecting the demand outright, because they know that this reality of the state, of the country, and we need to know. If you can count the number of tigers in this country, number of birds and trees, because we know then how to address that issue, right? So if you have no idea, we're just working, on assumptions. That's not the right way to move forward. But there have been certain aspects of this that have been very controversial. BJP, for instance, reacted very strongly when Rahul Gandhi gave the slogan "Jitni Abadi Utna Hak," and there are many who are questioning whether this is problematic, because is he trying to suggest, then comes the question, that those who are in minority or very few in number should not get equal rights? And don't you think the manner in which this has been articulated then becomes a bit problematic? No. I think you have to look at the aspect in which I think he was trying to address. He was saying there's a large chunk of our population that gets that is not covered by the goods and benefits that the government can give out, and some people get too much, some people get too less. So adequate, scientific, equitable distribution of goods and services, of, like I said, policy making, of budgets, of funds. That has to be done scientifically, and that has to be done equitably. And you can only do it once we know the actual headcount of who is in what situation. So what he was trying to say was that anyone who's been left behind, anyone who's been not a part of the mainstream, those people on those sections of society should be brought on board. I think that's the intent he was saying, that making that statement. All right, because the reason I'm asking you is that if you look at the numbers between 2014 and 2019, as per surveys, BJP's vote share amongst OBCs has increased from 34% to 44%. And many are saying that that's perhaps the reason why there's a caste census that is being spoken about, so that the OBC vote, which appears to at least have gravitated towards the BJP in recent years, is kept in check. I think that's simply oversimplified. oversimplification on your part to say BJP is gaining, Congress is gaining, this much OBC vote share. These things change. Nothing is permanent in politics. So today's the landscape may look different. In a year or two, it may look totally different. Votes shift, people change perceptions, they change their votes, they change their voting patterns, they change their likes and dislikes. Everybody has one vote each. And whoever gets people's blessings will run the government and run the country. It's not about politics, it's about making sure that we have that data with us. So to link it directly with some data that you have about who polled for how many votes in what election, I think is slight oversimplification of the matter.
Okay. Let me also talk about representation of women, because this is important from the perspective of the Women's Reservation Bill. The Congress has, of course, supported this bill, but ultimately, just like the BJP, it's only about 14% of the tickets that have been given to women in Rajasthan. At the end of the day, there are those who will question that political parties say very grand things in Parliament, but ultimately, when it comes to distribution of tickets, it doesn't really happen.
Different states have different percentage of allocation for tickets for women. In Rajasthan, we made, I think, small increases from last time. But what's more important is BJP's passed the reservation bill, but no end in sight as to when it will actually get implemented. 2023 में pass किया है. They're looking at 28, 29, 30 perhaps. When will that legislation see the light of day? So that's pure rhetoric and just trying to earn goodwill before the polls. If they really wanted to implement the Women's Reservation Bill, what stopped the government from executing it now? Why the delay? Why wait for this census and then that delimitation and excuses? So if they had to really benefit the women, why should the women of this country wait for a decade for this to become a reality? So there is a disparity in what the BJP is saying and what it's actually doing. That's the difference. Ticket allocation in every state is different. Rajasthan में हो सकता है इस बार हमने दिया हो पहले से ज़्यादा, but that does not change the stand that the Congress Party has taken on Women's Reservation Bill.
The NewsHour Special Edition.
Have been made by Congress Party to the people of Rajasthan in this election, including 10,000 every year to the female head of family, purchase of cow dung, laptop, tablet for first-year college students, free insurance up to 15 lakhs for families affected by natural disasters, the guarantee of English medium education, cylinders for 500 to 1 crore families, and the return to the old pension scheme. Now, Rajasthan has a high debt to GDP ratio, and its outstanding liabilities amount to about 40.2% of the state's GDP in 2023. And this has gone up from 33% in 2018. How big a concern is this, and will you be able to meet the promises without stretching a state's finances to a dangerous extent? There's a recent example of Karnataka, for instance, where this is also much talked about.
You see, we have made announcements after duly understanding what we can and cannot do. If you ask me, I'd rather spend money on social welfare programs, on pensions, on scholarships, on enhancing the disposable income of women in the household, as opposed to writing off lakhs of crores of debt of a few corporates. Now, it's your priority that matter. Rajasthan, by the way, has never defaulted on any of the economic indicators in the country. We are doing quite well in terms of economic our GDP growth rate. We are getting good investments. So there is also future earning potential that we have to tap. And that will, of course, foot the bill for all the things we're trying to do. But when the BJP government is giving 80 crore people subsidized food, that's never called a revdi. But the minute a Congress government wants to do some social welfare program, it's called irresponsible and financially not prudent, etc. I think it's the commitment and the willpower of the government to deliver. We will find the resources. None of the commitments we made have been done without giving it a due thought. We've run a government for 5 years. Many people thought even the things we said we won't be able to do, but we've done it. So good fiscal management and adequate funding of projects will deliver on the ground. It's wrong to say that it's being responsibly done. We've considered all factors and only then made this public announcement.
Right. Let me also talk about your contest, your election that you're fighting from Tonk. It's a fact that no Congress MLA has won back-to-back here. And you, like you've said in the past, no MLA has also won by a 50,000 margin as well, like you did in the past. So how do you see your own battle in Tonk?
Well, I take every election very seriously. I think we are quite well placed, and like you mentioned, the last time the victory margin was the highest since independence. So it's those are big shoes to fill, but I'm confident with the support and the blessings I've received so far that we'll do exceedingly well. We will win this election in Tonk again, and not just my own constituency, but in other areas also. But I don't shy away from working hard just because I think I might win, or party might win. I work to the last day, the last hour, to reach out to as many people as possible, because that's the beauty of our democracy, that no matter how big or position you may occupy, you have to go back to the people, you have to be humble, you have to seek their votes and blessings, and that's how I think people should and have to remain level-headed. A victory or a high position of power should not make anyone inaccessible. And if you do small things for people, in my constituency, I've tried to do big projects and small projects to touch people's lives, to win their, win their affection and blessings. And I will do that till the last hour of the campaign. And I think my results will bear fruit.
Right. I just want to draw attention to a few issues in this entire election as well. The Prime Minister, while campaigning in Rajasthan, has made some scathing remarks about Congress party. He, for instance, has said that Congress is sympathizing with terrorists. He's brought up the law and order situation on ground, including the murder of Kanhaiya Lal in Udaipur. He's talked about Congress allowing PFI to hold rallies in the state. How do you respond to such claims? Because this appears to be an issue that your rivals, the BJP, appear to be taking up.
Well, I think anybody should be talking about for the next 5 years how to build roads, how to get investment, school, education, farmers, young people, job opportunities, economic growth. Those are the issues that matter to the people. I think talking about religion and temple politics and Hindus and Muslims and talking about other emotional issues is not a constructive way of having a political discourse in an election-going state. We have to focus on real issues, on developmental issues, and people of this country are watching which party stands for what issue. The Congress, I think, stands for making sure that we have a stable government, an inclusive government, and a government that delivers on the ground. And that's why I want to take back the discussion again to people's issues so that people are able to get a government that they deserve.
Right. Speaking of governance, the issue of corruption has also been raised at the PM. In fact, he has begun his Rajasthan campaign in October, referring to the Red Diary, alluding to what Rajendra Godha had spoken about. And since then, the ED has been busy in the state. In fact, there are 9 people within the Chief Minister's close circle who are facing scrutiny on part of central agencies. How do you see this at a time when you've been speaking about corruption in previous government's tenure?
No, we all want to put an end to corruption, but to wake up at the eve of the polls and unleash these agencies on the Congress leadership is basically trying to intimidate the opposition, which is the Congress nationally and in the state, to occupy and to create a narrative in Rajasthan about corruption. If the BJP was so concerned, why were they asleep for 5 years? Why have there been no statement issues? No statement issued so far, no evidence, no documents. It's just a hype you create just before polls to divert the attention, right? Whenever the BJP, I think, in the states feel that they can't win elections, they try and use these agencies to change the narrative. I think it'll backfire. The ED, the income tax, other agencies, I think are losing credibility because they seem to be politically motivated in all their actions. 95% of all ED raids, summons, notices are given to people in the opposition. That just cannot be the case. And Rajasthan also, I think it will have no effect on the prospects of the Congress because of the activities of the agencies of the Government of India.
Right. We're also speaking at a time when there appear to be cracks. And I'm asking you this because you've played a very important role in national politics as well. Cracks that are being spoken about in the India bloc, where the Congress is a key constituent. Aam Aadmi Party has fielded candidates in Rajasthan. The SPs, for instance, fielded candidates in Madhya Pradesh. Is this kind of disunity only going to hurt your party or perhaps even the alliance, particularly in states like Rajasthan, where there's a clear fight with the BJP?
No, I don't think these state elections are going to create any problem for the India alliance. As Mr. Kharge said, India alliance is strong and only gets stronger. In every state, there will be some issues on ticket distribution, but largely the India alliance is very strong. We're getting more parties to join our ranks. And once the Congress wins these elections, we'll only get stronger. If the Congress party gets stronger, the India alliance automatically gets stronger. I think whatever issues we may have with some parties about seat sharing, etc., that will be resolved. We are now focusing on having a seat sharing resolution of issues at the national level. And I think that will also happen very soon. All
right. My last question to you is that in both 2014 and 2019, the BJP virtually clean swept Rajasthan in the Lok Sabha polls. In 2019, it won 24 out of the 25 seats in the state, despite the Congress winning the state polls. Are you seeing these state elections as a barometer for what's going to happen in 2024 Lok Sabha polls?
times have changed, people's moods have changed, the failure of the BJP is very apparent, and I can tell you, once we win these state elections, it will have a direct impact on the Lok Sabha polls next year. So Rajasthan is a state where we'll have a Congress government, and last 2 times BJP got all the seats in Rajasthan. And we know that the state has not got any benefit by voting for them en bloc. So there'll be a certain change that will start once we form a government here in Rajasthan.
Sachin Pilot, for speaking to us here at Times Now, I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I can understand in the middle of the campaign you must be extremely tied up. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
The News Hour Special Edition.